Hello and welcome to the first of a series of videos that I will be sending out, telling you the story of my 10 years with lymphedema, sharing my experiences and some tips that helped me to live better with lymphedema. And I hope that some of them are useful to you as well. Before I start, I obviously got to make a disclaimer. I'm a person living with lymphedema. I'm not a medical professional, so nothing that I say on here is constituted as medical advice. But if you do need specialist advice on lymphedema, speak to your GP or a lymphedema therapist or practitioner. That's the disclaimer over. So what's today's topic? The topic today is really where it all began, as far as I was concerned. The first day of, I suppose, getting lymphedema, which started with a pretty horrendous episode of cellulitis back in 2011. It was a beautiful weekend in June. My wife and daughter and I had been out shopping to choose my Father's Day gift, which was a new putter. Being an avid golfer, not very good, but I enjoy it. And for some reason we had two cars. I was driving, my wife was driving the other car, so we went home and stopped off at the local Waitrose to get some shopping, where I sat in the car with my daughter and started to feel pretty rough. So quickly we both went home, and normally I'd be first to help with the shopping, obviously, and this time instantly I felt really poorly. So I went upstairs, freezing cold, straight under the duvet to try and warm up. My body started to convulse and I felt like I was having some serious flu symptoms, but it came on really suddenly. Under the duvet I couldn't get warm, so I had a hot shower, and still I couldn't warm up. Anyway, after an hour or two of no improvement, my wife phoned 111, and in the end she was advised to take me to A&E in the local hospital, which we did. By this point, all I can remember of that stage of the day was being curled up in a ball in the waiting room, shivering, waiting to be seen. Now I'm 6'3" now. You can imagine a 6'3" bulk of a man laying across a few seats in A&E. I'm sure it turned a few heads at the time, but I was oblivious to all of that. Anyway, soon after I was taken in to a ward, and they gave me various drips and painkillers, medication, but to no avail. And wasn't long before I was put into a ward where further checks and tests were made. And I remember looking down at my shin on my left leg and seeing a red spot, like a rash. And I remember it being, the size of a 5p piece, very small, and thought nothing of it. Anyway, long story short, 2 weeks in hospital. It was a weekend, so no one really knew what I had, what was going wrong, what the infection was. So they put me on all sorts of medication and sent some cultures away for the weekend to try and identify what the infection was. But it took until Tuesday for those to come back. And I remember Tuesday morning, one of the doctors coming around asking if I'd had an X-ray. And my wife asked why. And he said, well, we need to rule out essentially things, necrofasciitis, I think it's called. Still can't pronounce it. Probably don't want to. Got a mental block on that one. And my wife instantly said, what, flesh-eating disease? Which made me sit up and take notice, to be fair. And he said, yes, if it is that, then it may lead to amputation. Well, at this point, this little 5p coin of a red rash had spread, right around my shin and around my lower leg. And the thought of losing my leg with one young daughter and another daughter about 7 was pretty scary, and a life-changing moment, going down to X-ray, wondering whether this would be the outcome, you know, losing my leg. And although it was daunting, I just kept thinking there are many men and women in the forces, the armed forces, that have lost their limbs and have carried on. So this isn't the end of the world. So I was trying to rationalize it, but yeah, lots of scary thoughts going through my mind. Anyway, fortunately, it wasn't, and my leg is where it is now, thankfully. But when the cultures came back Tuesday afternoon, it was cellulitis that they had identified, which changed then the cocktail of drugs that they were giving me. And it would become very violent, you know, letterbox red, very aggressive, very painful, to the point where just standing up felt like acid was being poured down my leg, and I had to use a walking frame to shuffle to the toilet. It was pretty horrendous, pretty painful. I don't think I've ever experienced anything as painful, either before cellulitis or after. And having spoken to many others now, thanks to Lymphoedema United, they've shared their stories, and they, you know, I'm not alone in the fact that it's blooming painful. So cellulitis spread up my leg, just above the knee and around the inside of my thigh on the left leg. And the outcome of that was my leg started to swell, started to get bigger, and I had no idea what it was. The nurses didn't really understand what it could be. And then a specialist came by about a week and a half into my hospitalization and said, "Oh, you've got lymphedema. Yeah, it's a lifelong condition. You just got to live with it. We'll sort you out with some stockings before you leave." And that essentially was the explanation of how I got lymphedema. As blasé, as blunt, as concise as that. And I was told on my last day of hospital to go down to the supplies department and get some stockings, which I'd have to wear for the rest of my life. So I'd not long turned 40. I'd not long started up a brand new business in financial services. Life was good. Life begins at 40, right? And I was told that I'd have this swelling in my leg for the rest of my life, and I'd be wearing stockings for the rest of my life. It was a pretty horrendous time, physically and of course mentally. I write about this in more depth in my book, more depth than I'm going to share on this video. But knowing how serious it was, you know, I've been told subsequently by many doctors that it can lead to sepsis if it's not treated, and sepsis, as I'm sure you know, is a killer if it's not treated quickly. So one of the important things from my perspective when I was producing the website and writing the book was to focus in on cellulitis, to raise awareness of the importance of acting quickly if you suspect it. And I didn't know what it was. The medical professionals didn't know what cellulitis was. So how do we know what to look for? What I can tell you is that I've had it subsequently, and I do know from the medical professionals that recurrent cellulitis is often common in people with lymphedema. So it's something we need to be aware of. We need to be vigilant and look after ourselves. And there's a chapter in the book accompanied by Professor Christine Moffat and Professor Vaughan Keeley, who write alongside my experience. And they provide some trusted information and guidance on cellulitis, what to look for, how to deal with it, and how to try and prevent it in the future. So as it's such an important subject, I'm going to read directly from my book, How to Live Better with Lymphedema, which is chapter 10. And this is what to do and who to call if you get symptoms of cellulitis. And this is quoted directly from the NHS website, providing advice. So that if you experience the early signs of cellulitis, you act with urgency and get help, as the condition could be serious if it's not treated quickly. The NHS advice is as follows. See a GP if your skin is red, hot and painful. It may also be swollen and blistered. You also have swollen and painful glands. These are symptoms of cellulitis which usually affects hands, feet and legs, but can appear on any part of your body. Get advice from 111 now if your face or the area around your eye is affected. Your symptoms are rapidly getting worse. This could be a sign of something more serious, like the rare condition of necrotizing fasciitis. There's that one again. Got it right that time. If you have a weakened immune system, for example, because of the chemotherapy or diabetes. If a young child or elderly person has possible cellulitis, early treatment with antibiotics can stop the infection becoming more serious. Now on to the serious one. Call 999 or go to A&E now if you have cellulitis with a very high temperature or you feel hot and shivery, a fast heartbeat or fast breathing, purple patches on the skin, feeling dizzy or faint, confusion or disorientation, cold, clammy or pale skin, unresponsiveness or loss of consciousness. These are the symptoms of sepsis, which can be serious and potentially life-threatening if not treated quickly. The infection can also spread to other parts of the body, such as the blood, muscles and bones. So please visit the website. There's some very helpful information about cellulitis there, or visit chapter 10 of the book, which is available on Amazon. And just to leave you with a top tip that's helped for me, and I was advised to do this once I'd had cellulitis, and I do believe it's on every single clinic letter now from St George's Hospital in particular, which I go to, where they give a statement on how to deal with cellulitis. So my top tip is to produce an emergency medical pack, just in case you get cellulitis symptoms in future. Now that pack contains a list of items which are in the book, including any antibiotics that you've been prescribed, paracetamol, thermometers, tissues, heel balm, antiseptic wipes, cushioned plasters, lip seal, scissors, etc., etc. Going on a holiday, going away for the weekend, take this pack with you, so that if you do get cellulitis, you can act quickly, start taking the medication before you get medical help. Okay, so this is a section that is very important for people living with lymphedema. It was life-changing from my perspective, very debilitating, took me out of action from work probably for 6 to 8 weeks before I could return. So yeah, pretty life-changing. And as from my perspective, it was the trigger that caused lymphedema, which those that have lymphedema will know has its challenges, but we try and control it and let us manage the lymphedema rather than lymphedema manage and control us. So I hope this has been useful. It's the first one of many. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel at Lymphoedema, and give me your comments. Email me at hello@lymphunited.com if you have any specific topics that you'd like me to cover. This isn't scripted, this is off the cuff, so apologize if it's not polished, but rather that, I think, than reading from a cue card. But keep well, keep safe, and keep in touch. You're not alone. We're in this together. Thank you very much.